What's up guys, Joe Parfanook here and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this week's video is going to get into an area where many beginners tend to struggle, and that's differentiating online arbitrage products from wholesale products. There are a few key differences that will really show you the difference between an online arbitrage and a wholesale product. It tends to really come down to the amount of sellers on the listing and the type of sellers on the listing. This is an area where you want to be careful, because if you're spending a ton of time looking at wholesale products, not knowing that it's online arbitrage, then you are wasting time while sourcing. The goal here is to get you efficient at sourcing. And that all comes down to knowing what to look for. Now let's hop into the tutorial so you can see exactly what differentiates an online arbitrage product from a wholesale product. What's up guys, welcome to the tutorial portion of the video. So I'm going to go through a storefront, and this storefront seems to have a mix of online arbitrage and wholesale in it. So as you start to source, you might see some of these hybrid types of models with some wholesale and then some arbitrage, and you might come across a whole arbitrage store or a whole wholesale store, but showing it side by side will make it a lot easier for you to be able to identify the differences. So let's start going through some of these products. We have the Zesty Paws right here, and this right off the bat looks a lot more like a wholesale product. So we have a very low sales rank and not too much competition. If this was an arbitrage product at this sales rank, there would be a lot of sellers on this listing. Maybe not a lot, but there would be 50 to 60 sellers probably on this listing if it was easy to be obtained from a retail website. Most likely, this seller had to go through a supplier or the brand directly to be able to sell this product. As you can see, it is a lot of demand, but not a lot of supply. And it's also very stable. It seems to be dominated by the brand a lot. Most likely, the brand had to give this seller permission to sell the product. So that is simply how it would look if it was a wholesale product that might have been from a distributor or brand direct. And you can just tell by the offer count here. As I said, this would probably look more like 50 sellers if it was from, let's say, the brand website. They just bought it with a discount or whatever. That's just how it's going to be. If it's a low sales rank, there is going to be a decent amount of competition, but that doesn't mean you can't make money and profit a ton from these types of listings, even if there is 50 sellers on it. Obviously, with the brand here, it makes it a little bit more complicated, but let's keep going and let's see if we can identify anything else that looks more like a... So here's the same deal. You're going to see the same thing likely, where it's a low sales rank and not many sellers. So this is definitely a hard product to obtain. Had to have been from a supplier or the brand directly. As we keep going, you come across this product here. This looks more like an arbitrage product, at least when we get past the January point where it's at a very flat line. So you can kind of see the difference in the transition. It's almost like perfect example here, because this is essentially going to look like a wholesale product. It's weird, it's not letting me hover over and zoom in, but yeah, now you see there's only one seller. It looks like it was the brand directly. They were selling the product. Maybe they decided to stop selling on Amazon potentially, and it opened up an opportunity for arbitrage sellers to come in and start to sell this product. And it seems like the brand has not done anything. They don't seem to care, I guess. Maybe if they sold the product and came back in again, it'd be a different story. So there kind of is the risk. It's almost like Amazon running out of stock and not being on the listing, and then it opens up opportunity to flip the product like you'll see with A2A, stuff like that, where you can buy it and then resell it for more after Amazon is out of stock. So, you see it looks like it's wholesale. There was one seller came on, and then it was just Dr. Berg's products for the longest time. And now we're seeing all these sellers come on. Obviously, it's still pretty low rank. There's still a ton of demand for the product, and this Keepa is still relatively stable, so there definitely is opportunity here. But it's a little different from wholesale because there is, the offer count of There's like 30 here, 50 here, 60, 70. So it's fluctuating from like 30 to 70 around. And that is pretty normal for an arbitrage product that is this low of a rank, because this product sells 1,500 times a month. So even if there's 50 sellers on the listing, they can all get a pretty good share of the buy box there on that 1,500. Just means that someone can't come on with like 500 units because they're likely not going to be able to get all of the sales because there is a lot of competition. But, if you came on with 20, 30, 40 units here, you would be able to make a killing because there is pretty solid. We can see the buy box distribution here. Looks like there is a ton of arbitrage sellers on this listing as well. This is another thing that I wanted to point out. So you can see that, and we'll go back to the Zesty Paw so you can kind of see the difference, but like the review counts of the buy box are all lower. So it means that they're relatively more new sellers, and new sellers tend to be doing arbitrage. It really is the gateway into Amazon. So obviously you want to try to branch into wholesale and then private label. It's kind of like the stepping stone, but everyone starts with arbitrage. It's definitely the best way to start and really scale your business. But you can see that they haven't really been in the game for that long because their reviews are 30. Some have even 4 or 0, 9. We're seeing a lot of low review counts. So anything under about 300 or so is typically an arbitrage seller. And now we see a 900 review seller. It could be wholesale. It could be a mix of both in arbitrage. It's possible. There are sellers that have 1,000 reviews that still do arbitrage. It's still definitely money to be made there. So these sellers want to take advantage of it. But you'll see there's a lot of lower review counts. So this gives me the idea that this is definitely an arbitrage product. So let's go back into the Zesty one. You can see the difference. I'm assuming you'll see like sellers with like thousands of reviews. The seller we clicked on didn't have that many reviews. It seems like he or she is doing a mix of wholesale and arbitrage, which is getting more and more common nowadays. But if we go to the buy box, you're seeing a lot more of bigger sellers here. We got 16 or 17, almost 1,700 reviews. Brand itself has 70,000. We're seeing 1,800, 300 reviews. Some smaller sellers on here. Let's see if we can find something else that makes it more and more, more and more likely that it is wholesale. This looks like a very exclusive brand, but let's see, maybe with the buy box. You're seeing a lot of 1,000, 6,000, 2,000. There's a lot more opportunity with wholesale here, it looks like. So, keep that in mind. If you see lower review counts pretty commonly, then it probably is arbitrage. And we can keep going a little bit more and see if we can find something else. So we have this raw protein product right here. I believe this is also wholesale. Yeah, you can see that, this is staying under 10 sellers most pretty commonly. So, and the brand's also on the listing, but let's see if we can look in the buy box. Does seem to be some smaller sellers here. We do see a big player here. If you see a lot of big players, then it possibly is wholesale. Maybe this is a mix of arbitrage and wholesale. There are listings that I did not mention. There are listings that have some wholesale sellers on it, but there's also arbitrage sellers on it. So it's not completely uncommon. But if you see something like this where it's very, low supply and a high demand, then it most likely is wholesale. There are cases where it could just be very uncommon lead that people couldn't find. But for the most part, from what I've shown today, where it's like, 5 to 10 sellers, it is probably wholesale. Let's see if we can find one more arbitrage opportunity to really nail in the difference here. So let's take a look at this product. Yeah, this is definitely more likely arbitrage. And it's also getting familiar with the brands, like Curave is a popular arbitrageable brand. But we're seeing, 30 sellers, 50, 40 sellers here, 45. We're seeing a decent chunk, like I said, 30 to 40 is around like the average for a good arbitrage product, sometimes less than that. But, it's a low rank and there's pretty not too bad of demand for the rank. So That's very common. You're going to see a decent amount of competition for stuff that's very low ranked like this. And if we go into the buy box one more time, we're going to see here there's a lot of arbitrage, maybe a little more advanced arbitrage lead here because we are seeing higher review counts. Not like we're not seeing a lot of 1s and 2s and 3s. We're seeing 50, 40, 46, 122. Seeing a decent chunk of like a little bit bigger arbitrage sellers. So it might be indicative of like a harder to find arbitrage lead. So I hope this really helps and drills in the difference between an arbitrage and a wholesale product when you come across it, so you don't make the mistake of, going through a wholesale store and going through a hybrid store, not knowing the difference, or also going through a wholesale store and wasting time on that. If you're trying to find arbitrage products, it's probably going to be very hard for you to find wholesale products. Like if we go through this seller, just to wrap it up here, you could probably just tell by their store what they're selling. Just by the products that they're selling, it's probably, a little bit harder to obtain type of stuff. This seems to be a mix of wholesale and arbitrage, actually, since, there's 30 sellers. Or this could be a wholesale product as well, just because this is very, very low. This is the top 10 products on Amazon. So this sells like 45,000 times a month. So it's possible that could be a mix of wholesale there. But if we look through more, let's see. Looks a little bit more like wholesale because it's a very consistent graph with like 15 sellers on a very low ranked listing. So that gives you an idea that there is a lot of wholesale in this storefront because there is harder to obtain products because wholesale is generally harder to obtain than arbitrage. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got a ton of value on it and really understand the difference so you don't waste time and get more efficient at sourcing as a result. So thank you guys for watching. And if you got value, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.